welcome to a presentation of Behind the Bench from the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. I'm John DeBenedictis, and I'll be hosting. And today, my special guest is Jim McCreath, who's an author, avid soccer fan, and welcome on board, Jim. It's great to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, John. We go back a long way, but we have only met a few times, so it's nice to see you again.
And same here. James, I call you James because that's what it says in the book, but I know you like to be called Jim. I guess we met a while back at a soccer expo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And, James, I got a copy of his book. His original book, which I actually brought with me, called Ronaldo, which he signed for me. Thank you very much, by the way. So as it turns out, it's a soccer story. It's not a coaching book, so I tend to read books, business and coaching books, because most coaches are always flipping through all sorts of books, whether it's specific to soccer or it could be, fitness, psychology, sociology, all sorts of sports related. And when I got Jim's book, it was fiction, big, thick book. I don't know if you saw that, pretty thick book. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to chance to read it. And especially he told me it was fiction. But when I started, I think he grabbed me in the first chapter, and I pretty much couldn't put it down. 570 odd pages later, I just couldn't put it down, and I thoroughly enjoyed that book. And I did mention to Jim, I says, this is a movie in the making, action, thriller, love, corruption, everything is in it. So let's just start with give us a little bit of your background before we get into.
Okay, thanks. And thanks for everybody joining in. I'm a Toronto boy, born and raised. Soccer was not on my radar growing up at all. I was a big hockey fella, loved Canadian football. I went to a school called Crescent School when I was in grade 8, boys private school. It's in North Toronto now. It used to be out on Dawes Road in almost Scarborough. Anyway, they played soccer there, and so I played for a year. I had no idea what I was doing. I thought dribbling was something an old person did in their soup. And when I'll tell you, my first header, that hurts. I'd never headed a ball before. I see these pros doing, ouch, it hurts. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I was useless at it. The rest of my high school career and university, I played Canadian football. Business-wise, I was in commercial real estate. I've done a lot of crazy things, some of which you might hear for. But when I was 18, I went to Europe for the summer on a school trip. 50 kids, 17 guys, 34 girls. And every country we visited was in the World Cup. England was holding the World Cup that year, and that's where I got hooked. I mean, the passion of the people in the various countries that we visited. Growing up a Canadian in those days, you were very much a royalist, and forget about what's going on with the royal family right now. But in those days, in school, you had to sing God Save the Queen and all that kind of stuff. So I was pulling for England during this World Cup. We had a German bus driver for the girls, Werner, who taught me all about soccer, because Germany had a great team. They had a young kid, 21 years old, called Franz Beckenbauer, first World Cup. So this guy, Werner, would teach me about German soccer. And as the tournament went along and Germany did well, he would expound on the merits of the German team. And we happened to be in Italy the night that they lost to North Korea. And were knocked out of the tournament. We were in Florence, and I remember in a small TV room, one of the fellas, Italian fellas, picked up the television and threw it out the window 3 stories down. Wow. And I thought to myself, holy smoke, so what's going on with this sport? Like hockey, okay, they don't do this kind of stuff, right? And crazy. Anyway, so for the World Cup final, it's England and Germany. We're in Munich. And Werner gets us tickets to go to the Hofbrauhaus and watch with 1,000 drunken Germans, England playing Germany. And we have Union Jack flags. The Canadian flag was just out a few years ago. We have Union Jack flags. We're surrounded by drunken Germans. The game goes into overtime. England wins on a disputed goal, no replays, right? Nothing like that. We had to run for our lives. But I have a World Cup of my own. I was able to steal from the Hofbrauhaus this mug. So I consider that my World Cup trophy, okay? Anyway, came back to Canada. I was absolutely hooked on soccer. I went back a couple of years later and stood in the terraces on Loftus Road, I believe, Queen Park Rangers home pitch. I wanted to stand in the terrace with the real fans, and I ended up doing that, and that was exciting. I've been around to travel a lot to see soccer. So that's a bit of my background. World Cup, I always loved World Cup. And I guess the first one I watched really was 1974. And there was no home television in 1974. We had to watch the World Cup at Maple Leaf Gardens. And that was the year the great German team won the World Cup. They beat Holland 2-1, Johan Cruyff and that team. And it was, so I really enjoyed that German team. I wanted to see them in person, and they happened to be in the Champions League final in Paris the next year, 1975. So I was engaged to my wife-to-be, and so we went to Paris. She didn't want to come to the game. I scalped a ticket from, it was Bayern playing Leeds United, okay? Well, 10,000 Leeds United fans were in the stadium, brand new stadium. Parc des Princes was our first game there. I scalped a ticket from a drunken Leeds guy that couldn't count his tickets, so I got in. I was in the terrace. Great game, very tough game. Leeds was in it. Knocked out three of the best Bayern players. Uli Hoeneß was one of them. Beckenbauer came off the field with a cut eyebrow after the first half. No score first half. Leeds scores a disallowed goal early in the second half. I think it was Peter Lorimer or somebody like that. But and then Gerd Müller, their great striker, scored to put them up 1-0. And then another fellow, German fellow, scored. And of course, the Leeds guys are very happy when it's 0-0 and Lorimer scores and the goal is disallowed. So then the stuff starts. And we were in the terrace, but it was plastic seating, no more standing up because it was a brand new stadium. They started to tear the seats off of their frames and throw them on the pitch. And it was getting crazier and crazier when Bayern scored the second goal. All hell broke loose. I had to run for my life. I was lucky to get outside the stadium. The Bayern guys were waiting. The hoodlums were waiting for us. So between the Hofbrauhaus and the Champions League final, I've had some instances with soccer where I had to actually run for my life. But I do have my trophy to prove. So that's a bit of my soccer history. I came back to Toronto, and I wanted to see some good soccer. Varsity Stadium was the best place to watch soccer in probably the whole world. 22,000 seats, very intimate. And the team that was in Varsity Stadium at the time was Toronto Metro's Croatia, right? And so it was me and 5,000 screaming Croatians basically in the stadium, but it sounded like 100,000, and they were played very good soccer, very passionate, and I really enjoyed that. They got a world-class player from Portugal called Eusebio. Came over, and in 1970, I think they actually won the whole league as Metro's Croatia, and then the MLS started. So my soccer, I love TFC. I was a subscriber right off the bat, but being a Leaf fan, I was too used to the frustration in sports. Like, I was in Maple Leaf Gardens when they won the Stanley Cup in '67. I was 18 years old. Now I'm a grandfather 3 times over. I didn't think it would take that long for them to do it again. So I sort of gave up on TFC. I shouldn't have. I had nice seats, but I gave up on them, and life goes on. So but the book, so back to World Cup, 1978.
Yeah, so
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah,
Sorry to ramble on. Okay,
No,
I'm
it's okay.
sorry.
We'll talk about the book.
Thank you for watching this short preview video from the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. To see the full video, plus have access to hundreds of other coaching videos, blogs, webinars, and podcasts, plus free and discounted coach education courses and other soccer merchandise, plus to have exclusive access to register for all future NSCAC conventions, both live and online, click on the link below to become a member of the NSCAC today. Also, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as your continued support allows us to continue to provide coach education and coach development resources to soccer coaches across Canada and worldwide. Thank you again for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you at future NSCAC events.